Hey there, YouTubers, Pythonistas. You guessed it, it's another one of my night-themed videos, dark theme. Occasionally, for variety, I bring out this USB-powered Tesla-like thing. It's silly to call it Tesla-like, but on the other hand, I mean it as a tribute. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a Jupyter Notebook, and these are spreading in Atlantic Monthly last year in April did a good job writing up the revolution. You could say a quiet revolution because it's like library science. What is revolutionary in the context of library science? But it's a way to do what Donald Knuth calls literate programming, where we mix code with graphics and text. So we're kind of like writing books, and yet we're putting active code inside. So you can actually download these Jupyter Notebooks to your own computer and then run them locally, which means you can change the contents interactively. Now, where I'm looking at this is actually local. And so what am I showing here in any case? I'm talking about what are called Q-rays, Q-vectors, quad-rays, tetra-rays. I've seen them called different things, and people argue if it's barycentric or what is it, but it's really not that complicated. It's just four, I'm going to call them basis vectors and then justify calling them that later. But these blue things, this is meant to be like at the center of, is it methane with the carbon, CH4? So anyway, there's a center of volume of a regular tetrahedron, and then a blue vectors, four of them that go off from the origin, which is not labeled here, but would be 0, 0, 0, 0. So we have, that's why it's called quad rays, because we use four coordinates and divide space. In other words, instead of x, y, z, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 slots in our tuple. We have four tuples instead of three tuples. Okay, and we can map space with linear combinations of these, and we don't need the negatives of them. We can create the negatives easily. They reverse. To negate is to reverse by 180 degrees to point the other way. And we don't need to do that to reach our points. So our space, we can address it with only positive points, or only positive coordinates. Zero, non-negative, I should just say. So we don't need the negative sign inside our tuples, if that makes sense. So I go through all that, discuss it here. I discuss where in American literature you might find it, and then I get into the math itself, because we use a really intricate volume formula, which if you've studied the history of tetrahedrons, you'll have seen things like this, right? So going back to Renaissance Italy or something, and Euler had something, and so we've got something in a way familiar, but it spits out what I call the IVM volume versus the XYZ volume natively. So if we want to convert to an XYZ volume, we apply a constant. And this all happens inside code that we don't show in the Jupyter Notebook. So at the GitHub repository where this lives, the code that the source code I'm importing is there and available and open source and all that. But here in this Jupyter Notebook, we just import certain things. So in a way, you can't just run this Jupyter Notebook on your computer as is, because it has some dependencies. So you would like clone my Python 5 repository and take it all. It's not really that much because it's just source code, right? So a few K, maybe some pictures, but check it out. See if you want to grab it. It's interesting. It's not very much written about or understood, but it's still interesting. So check it out. Enjoy. Talk to you soon.